Hello and welcome to the Valuer podcast. Now, this is the first of its kind. This is a platform where we inform you, educate you, and just highlight you on the importance of valuation, understanding why we have valuers, what kind of people are they, what do they do. So I've got questions for myself and questions for you viewers. I know we are eager to learn. Now, why are we here? We are here because recently, Minister of Local Government, Minister Honorable Gary Nkombo, declared 45 more councils as rating authorities. And, everyone has questions asking, what is this about? This is why I have the guest today, Mr. Daka, who's going to dive into it and help us understand what this is. Now, who is Mr. Daka? He is a seasoned property valuer and local government expert with over 37 years working experience, traversing from both central and local government and private sector. He has a proven track record of 20 years, successfully managing 4 municipal councils as a highly motivated and dynamic chief executive officer and town clerk for Chipata, Solwezi, Mbala, and Kawe. He was able to transform non-performing local authorities into viable, highly performing institutions. He has a huge CV, including him being the former president of the Society of Local Authority Chief Executive Solas, former board chairman of the Valuation Surveyors Registration Board, VSRB, and of the Eastern Water and Sewerage Company, among others. Such a rich CV. Mr. Daka, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Mr. Chilekwa. And it's a pleasure to be here and interact with our viewers.
I must say you have a rich CV. I'm almost, intimidated to have a conversation with you. But anyway, it's a learning platform, so we are here to learn. It's good to have you here. So, as I introduced this podcast, I mentioned that one of the key things that has brought us here is to understand these 45 councils that were introduced or declared by the Minister of Local Government, Honorable Gary Nkombo. We just want to understand, for a layman like me, what is this about?
Mr. Chilekwa and viewers out there, simply put, this means that the 45 local authorities or councils, as we commonly call them, will now be able to independently prepare their own valuation rolls and levy property rates. Property rates are basically a local tax, and this is under the Rating Act number 21 of 2018.
Okay, so how does this change the dynamics or the revenue system of the councils, or, what's the importance of these councils?
Most importantly, rates happen to be one of the most critical and reliable sources of revenues for local authorities. I'll say this, that in this part of the world, and particularly let me just maybe zero in on Zambia, that 38% of all revenues for Lusaka City Council in 2022 came from property rates. Kitwe, it was 53%, because of the mining houses there. Okay. Solwezi, 75%. Chipata, it was only 8%. So you may notice that on average, we may say roughly about 40% of revenues of local authorities are normally drawn from rates. So for the new rating authorities, the 45 councils, after that pronouncement by the minister, it ought to be very exciting news for Zambians, especially those who are in those 45 local authorities, because they are now joining a league where a good amount of money will come in as revenues for them to be able to, provide, the much needed municipal services. I will emphasize municipal services.
Great. But obviously we know that by nature as human beings or citizens of any nation or country, whenever there is a new idea or declaration as such, there's always, resistance. So what are some of the challenges that you foresee, in implementing or making sure that these systems that are brought forward are effective and they actually do the work that they intend to do?
Stage Leko, if you allow me, I would love to spend a little bit of time because I think this is very, very important. It's a very critical question you've asked.
Yes.
A local authority which does not perform, it will simply imply that service delivery immediately becomes a problem for them to be able to provide. So I want to just explain a few things. So there are 5 main challenges that I foresee these councils are going to face. The minister's done his part, declared them as rating authorities. But remember, even if you're a rating authority, step 2 is for you to prepare your valuation law. Here is the problem. The law as it stands, the Rating Act of 2018, what it basically says is where the problem is. And I'll particularly refer to section 24. But problem number 1, I'm saying that these councils may have to wait maybe a little bit longer because currently the law, what it says is that if you want to prepare a valuation law, you need to engage the services of a valuer. Now, that's problem number 1, so expect delays, but let me come back to that. Number 2 problem or challenge, there is no guarantee that in the process of preparing these valuation laws, they will be done transparently. I'm speaking from experience. I've had an experience of both sides of the world, both working in the government, central government.
In this case, are you implying that obviously there might be a bit of work to be done in terms of trusting the system to work, transparently?
In fact, I want to come to that because I think that's where some of the major issues I want to highlight, lie. The issue of transparency. I think you saw what happened at Nakatindi Hall. It's just a few weeks ago that, there was, I would call it almost an uproar when the tribunal sat there. And, you could see the complaints, I think, that went about. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. But number 3 issue is the issue of communication challenges to the ratepayers and stakeholders on this important new development. I'm saying communication challenges because you're introducing a new tax. And a tax, who loves paying tax? I think the majority of people would rather they don't pay tax.
If there was a way not to pay, would obviously all of us, wouldn't you want to?
Absolutely. People want to just avoid paying tax.
Yeah.
So the new councils must be ready. Do they have a good communication strategy? But I'm also glad because I think I've heard recently that the government has emphasized the issue of communication. So in other ways, recruiting, people with, to do public relations and so on and so forth in different government departments. But for local authority, I'm also aware that the Local Government Service Commission has got public relations units in each of the 116 councils. So perhaps this is now where they need to begin to prepare. How do they communicate? So that, the public, or let me put it that the ratepayers will be prepared, ready for, to pay this tax. Number 4, the issue of enforcement issues. Enforcing, the provisions of the Rating Act. Because even after, the valuation law has been prepared, the tribunal itself has been able to, give it an approval. The rate levy, we call it poundage. I think that's one of the languages, as if we are still in the, in the old colonial days. But if the rate levy has been determined, and you find that now each person receives a bill. They tell you today, Bwana, you were not paying anything, but suddenly you have to pay 5,000 kwacha to the council. And the question is, out of those, you can be sure, some will not comply. But you know what the law says? After some time, those people, the principal officer of the council is supposed to send the office of the under-sheriff. So the question is, how prepared are we? Number 5, issues of accountability. Accountability challenges, Mr. Chilekwa. Here is a situation, you have now a new revenue stream. Unlike other revenue streams, and I'll particularly refer to revenue streams that local authorities receive, like CDF, Constituency Development Fund. That money is ring-fenced, very specific in terms of how CDF must be utilized. So there's nothing like you take CDF and say, no, we don't have salaries, therefore.
Let's use part of it.
Then also local government equalization fund is also ring-fenced because it's for very specific purposes. Even cash forward, and indeed other grants that government may give, local authorities time. Those monies usually they are ring-fenced. But when you come to property rates that will accrue, in this case to local authorities, you may find that others might think now I've got a slush fund. And then the problem of potential abuse of those funds. I want to also state now, maybe in a little bit more detail, when I said we have a problem in terms of the major challenge is because there will be expectation.
Yes.
I can assure you that the public out there, especially in those 45 councils, they are saying, oh, now we are going to have a new revenue stream. You heard me talk about the figures that in some councils it could be even as much as 40% of revenues just from property rates. Maybe people might be expecting that now our revenues are going to increase by so much percent.
Yeah.
But
so maybe just to cut in terms of expectation, so obviously we want to now find out, yes, there's this declaration, there's all these laws and everything that is put in place. For a layman, a citizen, a property owner, like me or any other person out there, what is the benefit? What's the written down benefit of the property owner? And what's the balance, between the valuer and the property owner? Because, sometimes we see that maybe there's not much of a balance. And also in terms of knowledge, how much knowledgeable is the property owner is now, or do you have any deliberate ways of making it known to the property owner, saying this is your benefit and they should not shun away from being a part of this new declaration?
That's why I emphasized the issue of public relations. On the part of the minister, he's done his part, made the pronouncement, based on law, that you are now rating authorities. And what are the immediate benefits? Increased revenues accruing to local authorities. But I'm saying that before we even think about the benefits, why don't we talk about, are these valuation laws going to be done, which will be the basis upon which local authorities can be able to charge the property taxes? That's where the challenge is. Section 3 of the Rating Act, you know what it provides? It says the minister shall approve or reject the appointment of the valuation. Let me start with this one. A rating authority shall appoint a valuation surveyor to undertake a valuation subject to the approval of the minister to prepare a main roll or supplementary roll for the rating authority.
How long will that process take?
Okay, let me just come to that.
Because I know
and the minister
so many delays in this
shall approve.
Offices.
Because how long it takes is a question of a local authority. When the council sees at the nearest sitting, councils, I think by practice, they sit quarterly, meaning that at the end of the quarter, like they always started January, by March 31st, they must have the first ordinary council, the sitting of the first ordinary council. So if you're going to prepare a valuation roll and you want to take the name to the minister, is now in that meeting that the name will be presented of the chosen valuer. Okay? So now here is my problem, or here is the problem that people should expect, is that that rating authority will have to write to the minister. Section 3 of the Rating Act. Subsection 2 says the minister shall approve or reject the appointment of the valuation surveyor within 30 days of receipt of the appointment by the rating authority. Now the minister can say yes, the minister can also say no.
Yeah.
Now, there is always that possibility of some staff within the Department of Valuation and Property Management Services, maybe to even influence the decision of the minister. I mean, the minister is not a professional in this particular area, but they are the professionals to advise the minister.
So how do we then make sure that there's that balance, and there's the expectation of the people, the property owners, is also met? Because I'm seeing it's almost like when you're dealing with land issues, how long and tedious it is to just for someone to go through and finish what their pursuit is. So because what you have highlighted is, yes, very, very key, but are we not going probably back to just the same cycle of the process at which someone may even just give up and say, you know what, I've pushed too many times, and some people may even die without having the process completed while they were when they were alive. So, is there a way you can, the valuers, coming in and also working with the government and the ministry, the ministerial system, to make the process? Because I see that in your speech,
yeah.
you've obviously there's one where you are saying this is where the problem will be. So what are some of the measures to make sure that that problem is not there?
And that's what I want to explain. If you can just allow me to explain a few things.
Okay.
I want to say that for me, the problem of the minister approving is not a problem. Mm-hmm. Here is a local authority. We are in January, by 31st of March. But if they so wish, maybe they could even have a special council, approve a valuer, maybe even by end of January.
Before March. Yeah.
And then, end of January, they've approved. What would happen is that immediately the principal officer, who is either a town clerk or council secretary, will write the minister, through the permanent secretary, seeking approval. The law, in its current form, says within 30 days, the minister must respond. In other words, that is taken care of. But the bigger problem is this. Because, if within 30 days the minister doesn't reply, that, request is deemed to be approved. But the problem is subsection 4, section 3 of subsection 4 of section 3 of the Rating Act. And here is what it says. It says the valuation surveyor appointed under this section shall be an officer of the department responsible for valuation and shall be registered under the Valuation Surveyors Act as a valuation surveyor. Why is this a problem? If I was to give you the numbers, you'll be shocked to learn that currently, I can tell you that currently, the total number of valuers who are registered under the Zambia Institute of Valuation Surveyors Act is 107.
In the entire country?
The entire country.
Why do you think there's an issue of trust with others not wanting to register themselves? Or
just allow me to even, I want to expound the point, which is very, very important, I think, for the public to know.
That's a big problem.
So we have 107 valuers. In the private sector, there are 92. 107 minus 92, there's a little number that remains. In the Department of Valuation and Property Management Services, formerly it was the Government Valuation Department, there are only 5. In the local government service, there are only 3 registered. Other institutions, you're talking of parastatals, pension funds, financial institutions, those who are registered, there are only 2. Okay? Now, where I'm saying there's a problem is that the 5 from the government, the law says the valuation surveyor appointed under this section shall be an officer of the department responsible for valuation. Do you see the problem? Now, these 92 in the private sector, by law, they're basically taken out. Let me mention another thing. There will be an argument that, no, but you see, subsection 5 says that a rating authority may appoint a valuation surveyor engaged in private practice where the department responsible for valuation is unable to undertake the preparation of a main law or supplementary law. But this law is 2018. But besides that, actually this provision was not in the old rating acts. It started way back in 1997. Now from 1997 to date, Mr. Chilekwa, there is not even a single day when the department responsible for valuation in the government has said, no, we are too busy. Therefore, please let that council apply, or rather invite, bids, from private valuation firms. It has never happened. I'm not speaking out of spite. Because I'm privileged. I work in the Department of Valuation and Property Services, so I have nothing, no bone to chew with anyone. But also, that's where I built my career anyway. But also, I can mention to you that I've also been in the local government service as a town clerk. And I know what it means when you cannot do your valuation raw, because it hurts your revenue generation. But also, I've also worked in the private sector. So right now, this particular provision requires that the minister must look at it very critically. It needs to be amended so that, we cannot say no when they are not busy. I don't blame anyone, but look,
always something to keep
all
busy.
these years they've always been not busy enough. But what happens, local authorities have valuation rules that are so outdated. And you find that, I can mention to you, there's a famous document called the Intergovernmental Fiscal Architecture. This Intergovernmental Fiscal Architecture is a very important government because it was, highlighting how government viewed how, they were going to start, financing local governments in order for your councils in Zambia to perform. And one of the things that you find that the professor who wrote that document observed was that throughout they keep saying that, valuation rules that are too old, valuation rules that require to be updated, and so on and so forth. And many other researchers have made that observation. Where is the problem? The problem lies in Section 3 of the Rating Act. So this act must be revisited, and I want to emphasize that. If this is not taken care of, even these 45 councils, their friends, the 72, they are already on the waiting list.
So in other ways, I see that from tracing back from where all this was instituted and to date, there's so much of written down laws, there's so much of paperwork, but there's little of on the field or practical, work that is being done. So this is why, again, I ask the questions that what's the deliberate move? Having noticed where the gap is, what's your as valuers? What's your deliberate move in making sure? Do you, approach these people? I don't know if you have tried before. It's like by fire, by force. Because at the end of the day, us the citizens are, waiting for something to be implemented. But if years and years we keep hearing, as good as this news is by the minister, we want to see things being implemented. It's good that you have noticed the gap. You have seen this space. So as valuers, as your house, your house working together to making sure that these people, or maybe I put it this way, when this is being instituted, are you as stakeholders consulted? Maybe that's where we should trace back.
While I would not speak that are we consulted, I can cite, I think, very recently, the Surveyor Institute of Zambia, together with the Zambia Institute of Valuation Surveyors, nominated a few of us to sit in the committees, because right now government is in the process of revising the Rating Act. So even myself, I was one of those who was nominated to sit with government.
Yes.
But look, this podcast also gives us an opportunity to be able to voice out, to say that this is what valuers we are saying.
This is why we are here.
In order for our government to perform, because local government, that's where things are happening. Garbage collection, you talk about, maintenance of drainages and so on and so forth. CDF money, yes, is good, but it is not enough. The money that we collect, that local authorities collect from property rates, that money is supposed to be applied. Maybe that's what they can use to go and buy a new garbage collection truck and so on and so forth. So we are saying that it's an appeal to the government. Honorable Gary Nkomba, our Honorable Minister of Local Government. Sometimes maybe someone may not tell him that actually this is the problem, but I think we as valuers are saying, sir, this is where the problem is. Section 3, especially where it restricts, it says no, the only one who must do is the Department of Valuation and Property Management Services. 5 registered valuers against 92 in the private sector. Surely, are we really serious? Do we really want valuation roles to be done? So I'm saying the minister has done his part. An excellent move. But for local government to move, it's about finances. And finances, the primary finances come from
the same
valuation roles.
Yes.
So that is a major problem, and I think this must be visited as a matter of urgency. It just requires an amendment of one section. That's all.
We have examples of amendments in this country where we'll probably go another 6 months or even a year to just amend a section. So this is why I'm asking. So if maybe you have deliberate ways in which you approach this, within your systems to make sure that we don't have, repeated, because sometimes the citizens lose trust when it's almost like, we know this, it has happened before, it will fail. You understand that feeling where you've seen it come, but it never worked. So this is why I'm saying there must be a deliberate stance from your part as valuers. Obviously, as citizens, we will be behind you because we want to see change. So having said that, I would also want to understand, one or two things, with regards to rights, and what can a property owner, do, especially in circumstances when they have a disagreement, with a property valuer. We've had so many of such cases, and some of the people don't even know how to go by, presenting their case. What does the right, or what does the system say with regards to the rights, that the property owner has in case with disagreements?
I'm sure you are referring to the right to object.
Yes. In case it doesn't go as expected and they have an objection, how do they go about it? Who do they go to?
Sure, Mr. Chilekwa, the moment you hear a council has published a valuation law, immediately the owner of the property must go to the council and inspect the valuation law. And there is no offense for you to check also entries of, property that are similar. For example, if you're in an old Chirenge house, if your Chirenge house is worth, let's say, 200,000, then the next house, which is also identical, no improvements, just like yours, you find that suddenly it is 100,000. You have the right to question the council to say, where is the problem? Because why should I pay more tax? Because tax is about equity.
Neighbor in the same residential area.
So immediately you see that, check. Now, when you prepare a valuation law, there is a famous phrase I'll use. Please hear me, Mr. Chilekwa. There's a term we use called tone of the list. Tone of the list, what we are referring to is the issue of equity. Because when you see an entry in the valuation law as relates to, what is called the rateable value, that is in relation to other rateable properties within that valuation law. So that's why similar properties, if you have a shop in Kamala, yours is worth 2 million, the next shop is worth 850, you have a right to question, to say, why should I be charged no more rates? So you don't only check yours, but you also check others. And I want to say also that if you are dissatisfied with the entries, quickly start the process of consulting a registered valuation surveyor.
So that's the process that we want to
Exactly. In fact, it's good this podcast is, provided for us. Consult the services of a registered valuation surveyor. You've heard of the California fires, eh?
Yes.
And you've heard that they are saying property is worth how many billions?
It's a lot.
Is it over 40 billion, within a short time? How did they know? It's a valuation law. Because all they will know is that so many properties in this particular area have been destroyed. Quickly, you just check the valuation raw. So the valuer is not, maybe in Zambia where we think a valuer is a by the way. But that's how important the role of the valuer is.
That you've mentioned it on a lighter note, I just thought valuers are people that move with this to my,
tapes.
measuring tapes. That's
how critical they are. Even where you want to look at the issue of your GDP as an economy. It's the value. But maybe let me zero in on the question you asked to say, why should an objector, a person who is not happy with an entry in a valuation raw, quickly talk to a registered valuation surveyor? It is because the registered valuation surveyor knows what to do from there. They are trained for that. That's why they are licensed to do their work. They are trained to be able to look at the valuation raw, check the value of your property, even in relation to other entries within the valuation raw. They will be able to see where there are problems. Right now, I can tell you that even when a valuation raw has been done for Lusaka City, how do you know that this valuation raw has been done properly? We just depend on the tribunal. The tribunal depends on people who have objected. Yes. If people don't object, you are not helping the tribunal because the tribunal will make decisions on the basis of, here is an objection, and this objection, on the totality of the evidence. So
maybe in terms of, as we are winding up, in terms of that, process, because why I'm emphasizing on the process is I want a citizen like me and property owners out there to just, understand it almost at as basic level of understanding what the steps, maybe the process in terms of steps. You see this, you meet these people, you go to this office. How accessible are these people? How affordable? What is required?
First, I will say that like the chambers of commerce and industry must build a very strong relationship with valuers. Those properties, commercial properties, industrial properties, their business premises, as well as their houses. Who can help them to be able to know that the values are, follow the tone of the list? Are they consistent with what is expected? Because rates are taxes. Taxes, emphasis is about equity. Every person, every citizen must pay give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
Yep.
I'm also saying that you see citizens, individuals, ratepayers associations, if you're not sure where to find the valuer, because others you will find their premises around.
That's the key.
Go to Provident House on the 3rd floor. You'll find the office of the registrar of the Zambia Institute of Valuation Surveyors. There's a young lady there with her team. They will assist you and show you the updated list so that you don't have to start wallowing in the city of Lusaka. On the Copper Belt, very soon we'll be having a regional office there. And when you contact this professional, they will guide you step by step on what needs to be done. And also in objecting, it's not an objecting where you just pick up that form. If you look at the standard form for objecting in the evaluation law, that form doesn't have much space. Are you sure that you can talk about a lot of things
all
there?
Of your issues stated.
But if you get a professional, he will see, here do we do evaluation report? How can I go and represent my client before the appointed valuation surveyor? And then the registered valuer, they will also know other avenues, including, consulting other institutions that, have an interest in seeing that business prospers. and so on and so forth. So the valuer, even writing a letter, it will not just be a letter, because the law doesn't say just that objection form. It also provides that you can do an objection form, but also a letter.
I must confess that it's a pool of wisdom, it's a pool of information, and a lot of things to learn with regards to valuers, and of course just the importance of understanding these processes and what is there, because some people have given up on pursuing what they would want to pursue, and also when they have the objections. At most levels, it becomes frustrating. And I'm glad that in most of your responses, you've highlighted, just how to go about it. And also just a key few things. I hope that the local government will actually watch and listen to this and just find a way that they can iron out the issues. Because as citizens, we really are looking and expectant for this new declaration to be implemented. As we wind up, I would want to just, hear from you. We've talked about the problems, but now we want to just, hear from you a few examples of just how this improved revenue rating valuations, it has impacted positively the local community. So based off that, could you share some of the positive results that we've had because of properly structured evaluation rates?
Mr. Chilekwa, evaluation law can make a difference for a council. In 2011, Solwezi Municipal Council prepared the evaluation law, which was effective 1st January 2012. Revenues, just from the mines alone, jumped from 3 million to 20.5 million. That's what evaluation law can do for you. Out of that money, I'm very grateful that I was privileged at the time. I was town clerk with my mayor, Mr. Andrew Kalangwa. He's now DC in Lufwa. Is DC for Moshindamo.
Okay, that's great.
He's still DC for Moshindamo with his colleagues, the councillors at the time.
So tell us how you benefited.
I can tell you that when the revenues jumped, Solwezi, which was virtually a forgotten town in as far as local government was concerned, the council succeeded in purchasing 14 pieces of road construction equipment from the rest that came about.
That's a huge
14 pieces, 3 graders, 4 tipper trucks, a bulldozer, a low-bed truck, water bowser. You talk of front-end loaders. They were all there in 1 year. That's the impact. And you can imagine how much roads we were able to do. We did, I remember one of the roads, to Chief Kapijimpanga's palace. We worked on that road. The Mutanda Chavuma road to Mujimanzovu. We worked on the road. Secondly, very crucial, the council also succeeded in building a modern 3-story civic center.
Wow, that's great.
I'm not talking of asking money from government. Were you the one who
was in charge by then?
I was the town clerk.
Wow.
Yeah. So we built a 3-story modern civic center. If you just do a bit of Googling, our modern kids, they can do Google.
Just check it
you
out
do the Solwezi, you will see that there's a 3-story beautiful civic center. Beyond that, we were also to build another smaller civic center. Solwezi was not alone, because I'm just mentioning some tidbits. Kalumbila Council, they've also built from property rates from the Trident mine. So when you apply your rates properly, you can have a lot of positive impact, because you need the equipment in order to do your roads.
Yes.
In order to provide certain municipal services. So that was only possible with a new valuation law. So I'm saying that that's why for the minister, that pronouncement is huge. I think for anyone who understands local government, I think Honorable Gary Nkombo is really a Mazembe. As he's
But it must be implemented.
Yes.
Very, very, very key thing that we must make sure that it's a good declaration, it's a good idea that has come to the table, but it must be implemented.
That's why he needs to be supported. I think from the valuer's point of view, we are saying, sir, you've done your part. But the second part is to ensure that valuation rules are prepared. So look out for Section 3 of the current Rating Act. It just requires an amendment, just one section, and maybe about 2 subsections. If we just control that, then we are home and dry, because it will open up to private valuers to be able to carry out, prepare valuation rules. Just in case any member of the public will say, no, it hasn't happened in the past 20-something years. No, I want to say, I'm on record. I was the secretary of the Rating Valuation Tribunal when Dr. S.P. Mlenga, under S.P. Mlenga Associates, prepared the Kabwe Valuation Law. That was way back in 1991. I remember that because I was the one who was the secretary of Rating Valuation Tribunal. And that valuation law met all the standards as required. So private valuers have the capacity. They should not be overlooked. This should not be a preserve of a government valuer. After all, what we should expect of government valuers, they should play more the role of regulating the quality of valuation laws. Because who checks the quality of valuation laws that they prepare? Supposing the valuation law done for Lusaka City, while the public was so angry like that, maybe there could be problems. You never know. But who checks that quality? So I want to say that I think for the minister, it's an appeal. I think we as valuers, this I can speak confidently, we are saying, sir, please look at this issue very urgently so that your councils can perform. Not just the new 45 councils, but also even the other councils, because even the others also, most of them, you find that the evaluation laws are actually not updated. I think this is our appeal.
Wonderful. Any new changes that property owners must be aware of, in addition to what we have spoken about, even as we close the podcast? Are there any changes? Incidentally,
because the Rating Act was amended in 2018. In fact, I would say that it was repealed in 2018. So right now, I know that there's a process. I'm aware, because I think we as private valuers, we've also been involved at some stages of the process. But that process, we've seen that I think almost now is 2 years. I've been talking of 2025. That it seems like it's been quiet. So I think our only appeal is that if it can be speeded up, because even some of these provisions are mentioning some of the recommendations, which I think even from other stakeholders, they've made observations to government that they need to be urgently revisited.
There you have it. This has been the Valuer Podcast. Already you see that this is definitely a platform to inform you, educate you, and just bring you to speed of what is happening, on the ground. What's the importance of these valuers? What's the process that you must follow for you if you have any objection, anything that you want to be attended to. And we do hope and pray that there shall be a more deliberate way of implementing what the Honorable Gary Nkombo, declared. And to the local government, I must say, do not overlook the valuers. This has been Damiano Chilekwa, aka Mwanamfumu, and my guest has been Mr. Daka. See you on the next podcast.